Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Shayar's Voice. I have with me Iqran today. Iqran and I worked together for a bit last year, and since then I'm here in the Netherlands, and Iqran is right now in Budapest, I suppose, in
Yep,
Hungary,
yep.
and he's doing his Erasmus Mundus Masters in filmmaking. So I want to begin with the whole Erasmus journey. So Iqran, kaise hain aap? How's everything? How's
I'm
Budapest?
good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. And Budapest is also really great. So, yep.
So before we go into your Erasmus journey, right? Like how did you end up here? Like, can you just give us a short brief? You were telling me about your
Hmm.
school and everything, and Habib and everything. So if you can just share your journey so far in a bit.
I think I'll just okay. So I went to TCF. There's TCF's branch called Goat Dhani Baksh in Gulistan Johar, is one of the poorest neighborhood near Pahalwangot. So yeah, I went there for 7 years. I graduated from there, and then I went to a government college. Uske baad I went to Habib. So I went to Habib to study filmmaking, and I was really interested in filmmaking, and I wanted to do it, but they just changed the program when, yeah, because they were just
मतलब
starting off.
नाम बदल दिया
Yeah,
प्रोग्राम का उन्होंने.
उन्होंने program सब बदल दिया उन्होंने. Like they initially they wanted to teach filmmaking, then they realized that they cannot do it. I don't know, उनके कुछ issues थे. Then yeah, so but they still had like a few courses on filmmaking. So for my thesis in 2019, I really wanted to work on a film, and I started exploring subjects that I was interested in, and I was really interested in gender and sexuality. And a friend of mine told me that all these malishwalas, most of them are into sex work also, so if you're interested, you should maybe talk to them. And I started my research from there, and I ended up making a film at Habib, short film, which turned out pretty well because I wasn't expecting, because I didn't study film as such. I just took two courses, one on screenwriting, one basic film production. And yeah, so I made that film. And after that film, I realized this is something that I should be doing. And I was like more confident about my choice as a filmmaker. I was like, okay, this is what I should be pursuing. And in Pakistan, I like after graduating, COVID happened and there were not a lot of jobs, and I tried to uh, work on small projects, and I was working as an assistant workshop for another screenwriting workshop. And then I got into a workshop, Goethe Institute's workshop, that was also on filmmaking, and they were funding films. And it's a really great program for people and students who are in Karachi in Pakistan. So yeah, after that, I got into another workshop. It's called Kitne Dur Kitne Paas. US funded that workshop, and I think the film are still under process. Like they are working on the film, and due to COVID, they couldn't release the films in an actual event. So now I think they're figuring out to do it online. So for that workshop, I wrote a film with an Indian writer. So
Oh,
and
that's pretty interesting.
that was during US Mobile. So I used, yeah,
Oh, okay.
I used to attend my workshop, and it used to end like around 11, 12, and at 12 my shift used to start, so I used to run to the office.
That's
So
pretty great. Well, just sorry to just break into that,
yeah,
but
yeah, no, no.
that's actually interesting because you were also pursuing your passion at the end of the
Yeah,
day, but
yeah,
rather you were not making money out of it, but you also
yeah,
knew that I have another responsibility. I need to make my ends meet as well. So you
yeah.
would I was working with you. I know how the job sounded. You had to report in
Hmm.
at 12 a.m. and leave in the morning and everything. But that's pretty interesting. So यहाँ से फिर Erasmus तक की journey, like how does all of this?
I So actually, before applying to US Mobile, I had already applied to Erasmus Mundus in October 2020. Yeah,
Okay.
2020. So I applied, and I knew about the program from Habib. One of my professor is an alumni of the program. Actually, the first Erasmus Mundus batch of this program, Doc Nomads. He was,
Oh,
yeah, he
okay.
attended that. So he told me about this program, and I was like, okay, maybe, I'll apply. And I literally didn't have any hope. I was like, no, I'm not gonna make it because I'm not coming from that background, and it's very competitive. They select 24 student each year, and I was like, no. But I
24,
applied
24 from all over the world?
for, yeah, from all over the
Oh,
world.
okay.
So
That's pretty, that's great, yeah. मतलब like
yeah, yeah.
I know how tough Erasmus is because I'm in Europe as well, and I do meet a lot of Erasmus students. So you had already applied, and then you started working in all these workshops,
Yeah,
and then you finally got your decision, and you left your job, and you left
yeah,
for.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think you left in January. Nahi, I
No,
don't
no, no,
know.
no. I think it was I came here in August, so it was
Oh yeah.
June or July. So yeah, I worked there for
Yeah,
2 months, I guess.
around the
Yeah.
same time. I think I left my job in July and I came in
Ah,
August as well. So yeah,
yeah.
almost around the same time. But yeah, that's super interesting. So before I move more towards the program, I want to talk about studying in Europe because I can
Yeah.
relate to that as well. You were in Lisbon for your first semester. You're in Budapest right now, and I'm sure you'll be going ahead to someplace else, someplace really wonderful.
Brussels, closer to you.
Brussels is
Yes.
pretty good. It's like
Yeah.
a 1 hour
Yeah.
ride away. Like I've been to
Yeah.
Brussels. मतलब मैं 2 दफा गया हूँ, and
Hmm.
it's an yeah it yeah the city is itself is like
Hmm.
Brussels के बारे में ये है कि it's the headquarters of the EU. लेकिन
Yeah.
वहाँ पे लोग इतने laid back हैं, मतलब मजे चल रहे हैं लोग, you know, they're very content with their lives.
Yeah.
मतलब हम अमेरिका वगैरह में देखते हैं ना, everyone's just in a rush and everything. Here in Europe I feel like people are just happy the way they are with their small briefcase, their cycle and their small studio, right? They're pretty much okay with everything. They don't want like big houses or mansions or something like that. Like I don't know. That's
True. And I think that's a whole like EU vibe. Like Europe में आप जितने भी countries में चले जाओ, you would get that kind of vibe. For
exactly.
example, Lisbon is the capital of Portugal, but you would never realize that you are in a capital. You know, it's so calm, it's
मतलब
so
मजे में है लोग,
peaceful.
right?
Yeah, it's just yeah, and people are so nice, they're so welcoming, and a lot of tourists. So yeah, it's fun to be there uh and here vibe is a bit different, but again the same thing, there's no rush or that, you know, like very capitalistic vibe.
हाँ
वो
वो
वाला
तो
scene नहीं
EU
है.
में है ही नहीं. But
Yes,
I
yes.
really want to talk about, क्योंकि जब मैं यहाँ पर आ रहा था, a lot of people actually यूरोप आने से बहुत सारे लोग डरते हैं, स्पेशली मैं तो खैर सेल्फ फाइनेंस पर यहाँ पर आया था.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like I have a few scholarships, but again I am still paying partially my fee.
Mm-hmm,
So
hmm.
a lot of people told me about कि यार एक language barrier वाला scene है ना. Netherlands is perhaps the only country, because I've been to Belgium and even Brussels में भी नहीं था, but I've been to Paris and other places. So Netherlands में language barrier as such exist नहीं करता, क्योंकि
Hmm.
the person knows Dutch, but the person knows English as well, and pretty
Yeah.
solid English. Like they're more closer to the UK in that sense when they speak English.
Hmm.
But how has been your journey so far in terms of language? Because I know like Lisbon, Budapest type of big cities are. But
Yeah.
when you're in Portugal, when you're in Hungary, so what do you think about that? What do you think about the language?
It was way easier, like because we started in Lisbon and they gave us a crash course on Portuguese for us, like for a week,
Acha,
4 days,
that's
four
super,
days,
that's super cool. Yeah.
and yeah, that was just basic hi, hello, and stuff like that. But in Lisbon, I don't think language is a problem again because it's a city and that to a capital city, so you'd find a lot of people who speak English, so language was never a problem unless you go to like small villages where people yeah, they just know Portuguese, that's it, and then you'd find like big problems. So then it can be difficult, and Hungary is kind of yeah, Hungary is not same, people don't know
Yeah,
English that much.
it's in the
Yeah.
east now, और आजकल तो थोड़ा जंग का माहौल भी बना हुआ है. It's right at the border,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's on the other side of Europe in terms of मतलब pre-Berlin Wall era में तो हंगरी तो उधर ही था. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. And so do you have any other Pakistanis with you in your program, or any Indians or
No.
anyone from the south? Like
Yeah, Indians, 4 Indians in my class, but no Pakistani. I was the only Pakistani who got selected. And last year they had, yeah, even last year they didn't have any Pakistani.
that's
So
literally our story in Europe, right? Like हम एक
yeah.
मतलब हम I think हमारा और Indians का ना 1:10 का scene है. Like there were like almost like 50 plus Indians in my arts, in my faculty, and everything in my university, and there are like 3 4 Pakistanis. That's it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very interesting because coming to Europe is kind of leaving your comfort zone. क्योंकि
Hmm.
अगर आप लंदन वगैरह इधर उधर जाते हो ना, वहाँ आपको बहुत पाकिस्तानी मिलते हैं. वहाँ तो आप पता नहीं
Yes.
चाचा मामा ताया सब रह रहे होते हैं ना, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, this is interesting because I feel like this is important. आप ज़्यादा बेहतर बता सकते हो, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में ये perception है कि यूरोप में तो language barrier होगा, and यूरोप में like
Hmm.
आप इतनी जल्दी settle नहीं हो सकते and all of that. So I feel like we should actually debunk this myth, right? कि मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं
There's
है.
very funny incident. So I was visiting a friend in Spain. So we were in Barcelona, and we realized there were so many people. Like we ran into so many people who were speaking Punjabi, and I was like, Asmi,
हाँ,
are we in Punjab, Lahore? क्या scene है? So he
exactly.
said, और वो हमेशा ही कहता है आपको English भी नहीं आनी चाहिए. If you know Urdu, Hindi, Punjabi, you can survive in Europe. You would find these people, like
Yeah,
they are everywhere.
that's true.
So
That's true.
I think language ka as such issue nahi hota unless you're working, you know, like if you're traveling tab to theek hai. But for example, in my field, you have to interact with a lot of people and, you know, like talk to them in that sense when you're making films and stuff. Tab thoda sa issue hota hai. But
जाहिर सी बात
if
है,
you,
टेक्निकल इक्विपमेंट वगैरह है,
yeah,
all of these places. But okay, that's very interesting. Because I'm a Punjabi. I understand Punjabi. I
yeah,
can speak Punjabi as
yeah,
well. But I grew up in Karachi. I feel like
yeah,
Europe is more Punjabi centric from India and Pakistan. A lot of Punjabi speaking people come to
yes,
Europe. But
yeah,
North America, Canada, and the UK, you have a lot of Karachi, educated, urban middle class. इंडिया से भी साउथ के पढ़े लिखे बैंगलोर से लोग आ रहे होते हैं. बट आई रिमेंबर आई वाज इन अ हॉस्टल इन पेरिस एंड सुबह मेरे पास टूथपेस्ट नहीं था, तो मैं सुबह सुबह अपने हॉस्टल के पास एक जगह पे गया, तो बंदे ने मेरी शक्ल देखी, तो आई थिंक उसको समझ आ गई होगी, मुझे पहले लगा इंडियन है, तो ना वो अपने एम्प्लॉय से पंजाबी में बात कर रहा था, मुझे पंजाबी समझ आती है, मैंने कहा सर कहाँ से है, कहता है मैं गुजरांवाला से हूँ. तो वो पेरिस में पंजाबी बोल रहा था, और मैंने कहा यार मतलब गुड यार, एंड मैंने कहा हाउ डिड यू एंड अप हियर, इज लाइक आई केम हियर इन 1987, एंड मैंने कहा लिटरली लाइक व्हाट.
yeah,
एंड
yeah,
मतलब वो बंदा 35 साल से बस इधर उधर दिहाड़ियां कर रहे हैं इन पेरिस,
uh, uh,
एंड that was really surprising यार. मतलब I even see this when you leave Amsterdam का central train station and you're walking on the street and on your right or left थोड़ी थोड़ी ना convenience shops होती है, यहाँ पे सिगरेट का लाइटर, कार्ड्स का डेक और इस तरह की सिम कार्ड टाइप शिट मिलती है ना, वहाँ
yeah,
पंजाबी
yeah,
म्यूजिक चल रहा होता है, वहाँ अबरार उल हक चल रहा होता है, एपी डिलन चल रहा होता है, and all these, and I feel really proud because at the end of the day
yeah,
I am a Punjabi, right? And
yeah.
yeah, this is very important क्योंकि यूरोप में ये है, you don't find this in the US and everyone ना, वहाँ पे जरा सीन थोड़ा different है. And
And yeah, in Lisbon we had this neighborhood. It's called yeah, Martin Muniz, और वहाँ पर एक गली थी, उसका नाम ही बंगाली गली था. There's so many Bengalis
अच्छा,
there.
तो
You have इतने सारे restaurants, दुकानें, halal food, so easy to find, like everything there. And then you'd have same kind of vibe. You literally feel like क्या पंजाब लाहौर की किसी गली में आ गए हैं.
yeah,
And then
that's
या साउथ एशिया से कहीं से, वहां पे इतने सारे, और फिर नाई की दुकानों पे, you know how people talk and they're standing just, you
yeah.
know, talking about stuff.
अच्छा,
You get
I
that
didn't
also.
know कि इतनी community लिस्बन में भी है, because I
लिस्बन में ज्यादा स्ट्रांग है,
I remember
यहाँ
a
पे इतना
street
नहीं
in
है.
Paris जहाँ पे बड़ी वाली कढ़ाई के अंदर हलवा पूरी बन रही थी, और
Oh,
जलेबियां और समोसे और साड़ी की
yeah,
दुकानें और पाकिस्तानी
yeah,
इंडियन, और and there was a whole street, right? And मैंने कहा
yeah,
यार
yeah.
मतलब ये क्या है, मतलब where am I, right? And yeah, this feels very different, yeah. But coming back to the Erasmus part, do you have any specific set of instructions, or let's say an approach for anyone who's looking for any Erasmus Mundus program? Because especially non-STEM, because I'm trying to talk about non-STEM here, because STEM ka
Yeah,
scene I know
yeah,
bada different hota hai.
yeah.
But yeah, in terms of non-STEM, I know arts. I'm also doing arts. I did my bachelor's in finance from LUMS, so I've kind of shifted as well from that field. But I know arts is not rewarding in terms of money, in terms of
Yeah,
skill
true.
and everything. Arts is like a gamble, right? Hit ho gaye to hit ho gaye, nahi hit hoye to you're just a struggling artist, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like how do you take an arts education and how do you convert that into a successful lifestyle? Like how do you balance the scales with it? Like if you can share more about that.
Yeah, so when I was applying for this program, even at Habib, like when I was studying communication and design, so especially my relatives, they used to ask, "Acha, आखिर में क्या बनोगे?" You know, they want to know like, क्या doctor बनोगे, engineer बनोगे? So you need to tell them कि क्या label होगा, you know. So I think our like my program at Habib or even here, so even if you are not working as a proper filmmaker, there's so many things that you can do. You can be a cinematographer, you can be an editor, and you can like direct projects, and you can work for smaller companies, and you can like handle the communication department and all of that. So there's so many options, and when you tell someone that okay, I'm studying film, they think the only possibility of you working in future is as a filmmaker, and that's it. So if you're not working as a filmmaker, you won't get any other job. So
This
yeah.
yeah, just to add on to it, it's a very, let's say, a very bad stereotype in Pakistan, India में तो चलो फिर हमसे थोड़ा advanced scene है,
Hmm.
but film, drama, script, music, audio, video, anything related to entertainment or content is kind of not in Karachi, let's say, but is kind of looked down upon, right? Because I was hearing this I don't remember, but I was listening to Ali Asmat's podcast with Junaid Akram,
Hmm.
and Ali
Hmm.
Asmat told about his life before Junoon, and it was like Marasi, right? In Punjabi we call it Marasi, the Marasi the
Marasi.
Putar, and that's basically like, and I'm sure if you go to a village near Gujarat in Punjab, and you'll be like, यार मैं जी Lisbon में जी मूवियाँ बनाना फिल्में बनाना सोच रहा हूँ, तो वो यही कहेगा यार मरासी हो, right? That's
And
our good.
and another word is kanjar ban rahe.
Kanjir ban rahi hai ya Marasiyon da
Kanjar.
putter hai, something like
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a very Punjabi take on art, and
Yeah.
I don't blame that guy who uses this language, because सीधी बात है यार, अगलों को नहीं इतना exposure. I can
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
you a lot of Punjabi here settled in Europe for the last 20 years, वो भी
Yeah.
आपको यही बोलेंगे, क्योंकि उन बेचारों
Yeah.
के पास exposure नहीं है, वो अपनी नौकरियां करते हैं और उन्होंने अपना
Yeah.
मिनी पंजाब यूरोप के अंदर बनाया है, सही है.
True.
They're not integrated. The
Mm-hmm.
way we can integrate, they can never integrate, because at
True.
their prime, at their peak, they were going through something else, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's important. But I feel like as media evolves, you can kind of debunk all of that. But so you have like 2 more semesters now. मतलब आपका दूसरा
Ye-
अभी चल रहा है, एक
Yeah.
और.
This is my yeah. Then I have 2 more semesters. So
So
yeah.
Brussels, and then like इसके बाद
Then
Brussels.
then I'd come back to Budapest.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's a 2-year sort of a
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. Yeah.
graduating next June
23.
2023.
Yeah.
Sahi,
Yeah.
sahi, sahi, sahi. So, like, just to add on to it, आपका like I know it's a very far-fetched question. मुझसे भी कोई पूछता है, मेरे पास जवाब नहीं होता. But once you're done with your Erasmus, like, what else? Like, what's the plan? If you have anything figured out, like, how do you want to go about that?
So my like the first priority is to find work in order to stay here. Then
Yeah.
there are a lot of opportunities for documentary filmmakers to apply for funds and go to festivals and work with find producer. In Pakistan, you rarely find people who are willing to give you money to make a film.
To make a film, that's
So
true.
to make a film, and I think this like for example, as a South Asian, it's it's a sort of like an edge that you have, that you are here, settled here, and you know the region very well. So
Yeah.
people who are interested, like Goras will forever exoticize the region, so they need
Yeah.
someone to make films, and like someone who knows the region and
Yeah.
who is also like yeah, or skillfully also trained here, and they know the language and how what they want.
That's
So
that's yeah. What you
it's
just
like
said.
it's like
Yeah.
a bridge, so you are becoming that bridge, that yeah. So
Because, but there are a lot of people, okay, I would say a lot of people actually know a bit about India. उनको भी इतना नहीं पता होता, but a lot of people have no clue about Pakistan.
Pakistan,
I was
yeah.
talking to in my last episode, okay, I met this guy. The only connection with him in Pakistan was eBay. Like यार
Okay.
मैंने पता नहीं कुछ order किया था कोई 3 साल पहले, तो मेरा जो supplier था ना वो पाकिस्तान से था.
Hmm.
And it's the 5th largest country in the world in terms of population.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, okay, it's a nuclear armed country. It
Yeah.
has a lot of cultures, a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
diversity, and someone else in the world just has. I'm like, again, I just said I was at a place and I was like, yeah, I'm from a city which has like 35 million people.
Yeah.
And that guy went, भाई उसकी तो ना पैक हो गई. उसने कहा यार पूरे हॉलैंड की पॉपुलेशन 1 करोड़ 70 लाख है, जिसमें
Yes.
असाइलम माइग्रेंट सब मिला लो ना, तो मतलब इतने 2.25 करोड़ बनते हैं. And वो
Yeah.
3.5 करोड़ के शहर में रहते हो. And he
Yeah.
was like, what? And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it's important, because I'm not a filmmaker. I'm okay, I'm a bit of a low-key content creator, but the kind of stories you can tell, and I'm not even telling about Pakistan, I'm just focusing on Karachi, right? Like
Yeah.
areas like Liari, areas like, let's say, like Malab, you just mentioned Palwan Good, Gulistan-e
Yeah, yeah,
Johar,
yeah,
the ethnic divides, Kati Pahadi, and all these places, like they're filled with stories.
yeah,
Like आप places like Bengali Para, जहाँ पे किसी के पास NIC नहीं है, they've been living here, मतलब in the aftermath of the 71 war, और वो
yeah.
आज तक उनके पास NICs ही नहीं है, क्योंकि obviously they were never, let's say, they could never get one, right?
Hmm.
The state never provided them with an
Hmm.
opportunity to uh, assignment, मतलब उनको state structure में कभी आने नहीं दिया. तो yeah, that's, I hope you also make something like that, focusing on Karachi or something like that. Like you can, I think it's a
Yes, I mean, the approach that we have here in Doc Nomads is very different than how we usually are trained to make or think of documentary filmmaking. So it's very creative, it's very personal, and it's not like, like the classical style of documentary where you have footage and then there's a guy narrating, okay, in 1971 this happened. So yeah,
yeah.
that's not happening in Doc Nomads. So and I think this just like for a lot of people in Pakistan, for example, if you ask them, even art student, if they want to study documentary filmmaking, they would make weird faces like, ah yaar kaun padhe, boring hoti hai ye wo. So I also had the same sort of perspective about documentary filmmaking and all of that. But yeah, the way they look at the stories and the way they look at documentary filmmaking is way creative than what we think. So जब ये चीज आपके पास आती है ना, so you start thinking about the projects that are coming from more personal space. I'm talking about myself. So for example, I know there would be a lot of people making documentaries on Bengali Para or Machhar Colony or ये जितना भी ये जो NIC वाला issue है, but it would be very reportage sort of documentary, like giving facts and all of that. So it's more like
Yeah.
towards journalism
हाँ,
और
उसमें इतनी
उस तरह.
स्टोरी नहीं होती, उसमें फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स ज्यादा होते हैं, right?
इसमें इंफॉर्मेशन होती है और उसमें आप ह्यूमनाइज नहीं करते किसी कैरेक्टर को, आप किसी की कहानी नहीं बताते. यू आर जस्ट टेलिंग ओके दिस हैपेंड एंड दिस इज गोइंग ऑन नाउ एंड दिस इज द सिचुएशन वेयर यू पर्सनली और द ऑडियंस डू नॉट फील एनीथिंग अबाउट. इट्स जस्ट पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, यू रिसीव्ड इट एंड दैट्स इट. इट डजंट मेक एन impact. So if I am to do a project in Pakistan on certain topic, I really would like to have that sort of motivation where I'm telling a story from that personal space. Otherwise I feel like there's no point of going and making a documentary. It's just cashing on someone's misery. Okay bhai,
Yeah,
they are
मतलब
suffering, let's
हाँ,
make a film.
that's
So
also, yeah.
yeah, so ethically it does not feel right, like unless you have a personal motivation that kind of convince you this story. Or I think motivation helps you develop your story, like what are you trying to say. I mean, there'd be a lot of films and they are all over the place, you don't know what's happening in the film, and I think this is the reason, one of the reasons, that you don't know what your motivation was when you started the project.
That's, yeah, that's super interesting. So, like until now, have you ever had any, let's say, any awkward encounters or any encounters where the person, like, where you're from, you're like, I'm from Pakistan, and like, what's that? Where's that? क्या होता है वहाँ पे? उसका scene क्या है? And
Hmm.
yeah, like, have you had some of those stereotypical arguments or any encounters about Pakistan or South Asia, or like like talking to professors or anything? Because I have had a few. Like when I
Hmm.
came here, so August 15 happened, the fall of Kabul and everything, and I remember like
Hmm.
in the second or third week of September, one of my professors thought that I'm from Afghanistan, and I told him that where is Afghanistan and where am I and where
Yeah,
I grew up.
yeah,
It's a southern city. It's near India and everything.
yeah.
So, have you had any of those encounters yet? Like, cause
I think like as you said, like for when I tell someone that I'm from Pakistan and I wait for their response. If they're like that means they don't know the country, and if they go like yeah Pakistan, then it's really interesting. So and there are a lot of people who know Pakistan, so
exactly, I
they,
think yes. I
yeah,
think yeah. It's now people
yeah,
know.
they know.
Yeah, especially in Europe, right? When you meet someone from Spain or Athens, Greece, and everything, they're like, bro, we have a lot of Pakistanis in our countries.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
still remember a guy from Athens telling me that in Athens there's an area called Mini Islamabad. Because all those like I shouldn't
Yeah.
be saying illegal, but all those people who are like who try to enter Europe through different means,
Hmm.
and they're kind of in the middle now. They can't go back home. They can't stay
Yeah.
in the Greece legally. They just work and send money home somehow. So yeah, a lot of people actually know. I think I think people know now. That's
Yeah, yeah.
it's a big country. It's near India or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't know, this is my point. Like I go like, do you know India? They'd be like, yes, and it's like, ah, usi ke barabar mein.
That's
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and like I met I think the guy was in 40s or something, or maybe older. So I was talking to him, and he was with my friend. So my friend was making film with him, and he introduced me, and I was like, yeah, I'm from Pakistan, and he said, oh, Pakistan. I was like, do you know? He said, of course, as if like I'm talking about US. He was so shocked I asked that question. He was like, of course we know Pakistan. And I was like, ah, okay, excellent. He was in Portugal. So, and I think in Portugal, there are a lot of Pakistanis. So one way or the other, you come across Pakistanis and Pakistan, you know, like, okay, here I met a girl, and yeah, she was a Hungarian girl, and I was talking to her, and I told her I'm from Pakistan. She got super excited, and she said, oh, I had a Pakistani colleague, and I know everything about Pakistan, and you guys are, and I know Urdu, and I know a few words in Urdu. And I was like, okay, what are the words?
And
She
yeah, you should complete first. Yeah.
Yeah, and she said something. I don't know if I should be saying it here, but she said choose mera lora.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's yeah. मुझे अभी भी
I was
पता है
like,
कोई पाकिस्तानी उसको मिला होगा, उसने उसको सिखा दिया होगा और उसको इसका मतलब
yes.
नहीं पता होगा,
No,
right?
no,
And
no. She knew the meaning.
अच्छा,
She
she
knew
knew
the
the
meaning.
meaning as well.
She knew the meaning. Yeah.
That's good, right? And even that, okay, चलो वो तो slang है, but some of
Uh-huh.
the Indians I meet here and some of the English people I meet here as well, they say Urdu is such a beautiful language, like
True.
mazafat, khwab, need, and like all these beautiful words. Like, and
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
meeting someone from Bangladesh, and I work as a part-time food courier, food delivery rider here. So
Hmm.
we were waiting together at a restaurant. He saw me. He's like, मैंने कहा जी पाकिस्तान. He's like, I'm from Bangladesh. And so he started talking in Urdu. He's like, आपको मजा आ रहा है अभी आप रोने का अभी आए हो. मैंने कहा जी. मैंने कहा आपको उर्दू आती है? तो कहते हैं हाँ बांग्लादेश में बहुत सारे लोग उर्दू बोलते हैं. It's a very beautiful language. And I was like, हम उर्दू को इतना underestimate करते हैं. But if you
True.
actually the way Urdu is spoken, and if you talk to someone who's like जो खालिस उर्दू में आपसे बात करे, and you're like mesmerized, right? It's actually a very because I'm a Punjabi and I grew up in Karachi, but at the end of the day हमें इतनी अच्छी उर्दू नहीं आती. हमारी उर्दू
Yeah.
is more like a post colonial उर्दू, right? हम आधी
Yeah.
आधी तो
Yeah.
अंग्रेजी बोल रहे होते हैं उर्दू के अंदर.
True.
That's amazing. And I know someone here from Lucknow in India, and मैं
Ah.
उनसे बात करता हूँ और मुझे ऐसे ऐसे like इतनी इतनी प्योर वाइब आ रही होती है ना मुझे उनसे कि आज आपने क्या बनाया, आप आ रहे हैं. मैंने कहा यार मतलब okay यार, this is nice, right? This is
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
like part of our experience. But yeah, it's interesting. So now you're in Budapest, and like yeah, Budapest में तो मुझे definitely मतलब बहुत सारे पाकिस्तानीज हैं क्योंकि like a lot of my people I know in my circle have been to Budapest or have like studied at least a semester in Budapest. But how is Budapest in general? Like क्योंकि Budapest के बारे में बड़ी mixed आपको वो मिलती हैं, reviews मिलते हैं like.
So before coming to Budapest, there were a lot of people who were telling me, "Oh, it's racist and it's homophobe,
मैंने भी
so
सुना
you
है,
should
मैंने भी सुना है.
ये आपको नहीं जाना चाहिए." Or because I was telling like, yeah, when I used to talk to them, I was like, okay, my fourth semester is also here, so technically I'm spending a year, and I have the option to switch with someone else. So they used to go like, नहीं नहीं आप जो है वो switch कर लो, it's better. But now I feel they were kind of right because in what 1.5 months I had two very weird incidents, and this one very young couple, they were in a church, outside the church, and I, because the church was closed and I really wanted to get in, and I went to them to ask them if the church is open and I can go in. I just said hi, excuse me, hello. They completely ignored me like I don't exist. They just did not even look at me. They just started walking. And I
Yeah.
was so I didn't know what to do. I was like, dude, what just happened? Like, can you just look at me and ignore at least? Look
Yeah.
at me at least.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. और उस वक्त तो रात हो रही थी और 1 बज रहे थे और जिस yeah, I was on the Buddha side, so there are two sides, Pest and Buddha. So Buddha side is more residential. You won't find a lot of people in streets and all. So there was this last bus coming in. So I got on a bus and I was still confused. I was like, is it the right bus? And I again tried to
Ask
ask a
someone.
couple,
Yeah.
and they did the same thing.
The
And
moral of
I
the
was
story is
like,
कि couple से दूर रहना है Budapest के अंदर.
couple, and these are not like old couples, like like grumpy old grandparents, किसी
अच्छा
के
हाँ
नहीं,
उनका
these
सीन थोड़ा
हमारी
वो
एज
चल
के,
रहा है.
हमारी
अच्छा.
हमारी एज के मतलब लोग हैं.
हम्म.
And yeah, और उसके अलावा भी you feel that people are actually very cold, so they won't talk to you like how people in Lisbon talk,
Yeah, I
like.
feel like it's a lot related to Hungarian politics as well and how their relations with the EU are. Because I know
Yeah,
someone from Hungary who told me about how kind of Viktor Orban is kind of like a is trying to be Putin 2.0, right? He's more like a okay, Hungary is a very Christian country and we need to focus on our Christian values. But the whole populist. Because
yeah,
I
yeah,
also study all of this in my master, so I know how Orban is trying to like mold Hungary into a very he doesn't want a pan-European relationship, right? He's more of a Hungarian nationalism and everything. But yeah, that's something else. But I feel like there are good and bad people everywhere. I have had instances here. I've had instances in Paris. I've even had instances in Pakistan, let's suppose. But yeah, it's that's what I know. मुझे मैंने भी थोड़ा ये सुना था because coming here before coming here, I got into two universities in Budapest in BMU,
hmm.
Budapest Metropolitan University, and I think Corvinus is not in Budapest or
It is
it's
Corvin,
yeah
Corvin.
Corvinus.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got into them and I also got into CEU, the Budapest campus, and I remember applying to all these places and applied to Prague and all these places as well. When I was going there, I was like, yeah, self-finance pay going to Budapest, it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's Budapest, and I talked to a few friends and everything, and then I finally ended up here. And see, the
Hmm.
बात है financial इतना difference भी नहीं था. They also
Hmm.
charge like good money.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just not go there. Let's pick a safe option. And I feel like Netherlands in that way is way better because
Hmm.
I remember talking to someone in France, and he was like, कि यार मतलब you might face racism, but you will never face someone who's rude to you. They might be
Hmm. Hmm.
racist in heart,
Yeah.
right? They might be something like that अंदर से, but
Yeah.
कभी कोई जिंदगी में ना आपसे यहाँ पे rude नहीं होगा. And
Uh-huh.
quite the contrary in France and everywhere because their racism is a big thing because of
Huh.
their black colonies and everything. But वहाँ पे
Yeah.
लोग rude भी मतलब वहाँ पे लोग rude होते हैं, मुंह पे rude हो
Hmm.
जाते हैं.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
They don't give a damn about political correctness and everything.
Yeah, true.
But
White
at least
people,
यहाँ पे
why
like
would they?
yeah, I feel like I feel like at least I haven't like यहाँ पे at least अभी तक मेरे साथ कोई rude तो नहीं हुआ है.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's more of a, let's say, part of life, right? मतलब आपको हर किस्म के लोग मिलते हैं. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So like so you go to Brussels next, and I just want to talk about something because मैं भी यहाँ
Hmm.
पे 2-3 Erasmus वालों से मिलता हूँ. मुझे 6-7 महीने हो गए हैं and I'm still settling in, right?
Hmm.
As
Hmm.
an Erasmus student, how do you just pack up and leave after every 3 months? You need to figure out your studies, you need to open a bank account, you need to get your paperwork in order, you need to travel, you need to socialize and everything. And then you need to pack up and leave after every 3 months. How does that work? Because, for instance, you make this relationship with the barista in your gully, with your librarian, or with your
Yeah.
professor, and then you're like, yeah, okay, ab to main ja raha hu, bye bye. And like, okay, then you need to start another life in another European city. So how are you navigating all of that so far?
I think this is like a really important question because as an Erasmus student, and also it's not like, I don't know if this happens with other Erasmus student, but again, as a filmmaker, you are talking to a lot of people, you're going to places, you make a lot of connections, and these connections, this network actually helps you to like make better films. And once, like, 6 months are not enough to make this connection, or abhi wo shuru hi hota hai, then it's time to move to
Yeah,
another city.
that's
And
that's hard,
it's
yeah.
it's emotionally, it's so draining. Like the guy I was working with for my semester film, and I had to meet him like by the end of January again, and he could not take out time to meet me, and I was super upset about it. I was like, shit, I felt like, bro, you made a film, this guy, and you could not say bye to him like properly, or and you know, it's still in my heart, it feels ke milna chahiye tha Deepak se aur wo mulaqat nahi hui hai. And then you come to another city, and again all those things ke you have to find a place to live, you have to open a new bank account, and then SIM card
बैंक
and
अकाउंट
all
यार,
these
it's
basics. It's
मतलब
just
हर 3 महीने बाद आई कांट डू इट यार. ठीक है, मुझे महीने का 900 यूरो मिल रहा है स्टाइपेंड में,
yeah, yeah.
but this is yeah, I really like stability in my life के बाद 6-7 महीने इधर फिर 6-7 महीने बाहर. Okay, that's fine because I've been to Lums, I've moved a lot in my life as well.
Yeah,
मतलब 4 साल
yeah.
living in a dorm and everything. But yeah, at 24-25 you're like यार अब थोड़ी सी stability आ जानी चाहिए. अब हम 18-19
True,
साल के नहीं
true.
है. We don't have that much energy right now. मतलब हमारे अब yeah, if we work a lot, if we are out a lot, अब थोड़ी बहुत दर्दें भी शुरू हो जाती हैं. Yeah, it's important. And yeah, the way you're navigating all of this, and to everyone who's listening who's applying to an Erasmus Masters, I would say plan everything. And let's say do not be a bit scared about integration.
Yeah,
क्योंकि यार, this is something I found a lot in the diaspora as well, and a lot of Pakistani students here as well. Some of them are scared to integrate, some of them have their own views about integration, but
hmm.
I feel like integration is important.
Yeah,
If you're you're living in someone else's country, right? You love
yeah,
white people sitting on a cart in Karachi, right, roaming around in Sadar in shalwar kameez.
yeah,
So if you apply the same logic to yourself living in the Netherlands or Budapest or Brussels or anywhere, so you should have that much decency to respect their culture and their norms and everything. And yeah, and especially someone like you, right,
yeah.
who was kind of in the southern part, because Portugal and Spain is kind of a bit मतलब थोड़े दूर दूर वाले vibes हैं.
Hmm.
Then you went entirely to the east जहाँ पे अलग मसले चल रहे हैं, and then you're coming back to Brussels, which is basically
Yeah,
the crux of Western Europe, which is the headquarters of the EU. And then you go to, after Brussels, you come back to east,
come
right?
back to.
So it's very मतलब बड़े मजे का मुझे एक mixture sort of vibe होगी आपके लिए, like
Yeah,
the way you.
and the good thing is, like, when because in even in Budapest or in Lisbon, you find a lot of people from all around the world. Especially in Lisbon, you just the area where I was living in, it was like the center of the city, and you go in the street and you can find literally any nationality, you know. So it's so interesting to just not only be friends with locals but people from all around the world. So by the end of like 6 months, you have you know people from different countries and locals as well. And it's so, for me, this was really really interesting and fascinating. And I was sharing an apartment with yeah, there was one girl and guy from Belgium, and then one from Netherlands and Germany. And then you make, you know, all these connections, and then
Yeah.
you meet a lot of locals, you get to know. And even as a class, like 24 of us are coming from different countries with
Yeah,
different
that's and you're such a
backgrounds.
small group. You're such a small group that once you
Yeah,
actually start doing all of this, and once you actually like you wherever you guys end up after 2 years, you have 24 people. You have traveled literally Europe together because all
yeah,
of you go to
yeah, yeah,
Budapest, then all of you go to
yeah.
Brussels. So it's more of a very yeah, small connection, because yeah, it feels very important. So if you could also tell us about the universities you've been to yet, what are your partner universities in your program?
Before answering that question, I would really like to, like, what I really find interesting is that all 24 of us are moving together, you know.
Yeah.
So you feel so safe, you feel like, okay, even though I'm in a new city, you have all these
That those
24,
people, right?
23
Yeah.
people with you, you know.
Yeah.
So, and they, like, my class is very loving. Like, last night I was hanging out with them and we were celebrating birthday of a friend, and all of us were there. So all these, like, we because I'm sharing flat here with two classmates, and we call DN houses. So DN is
Uh,
Doc Nomad. So we have like 3 to 4 DN houses.
okay,
So
that's
like
nice.
yeah, 3 people or 2 people are living together. So it's like, okay, DN house. So, you know, like, you
Yeah.
have your own community as well. So I just really love it. Like, I know even in Brussels, I would know I'd have these people with me. So yeah. And yeah, answering that question, in Lisbon, I had Lusofona. Lusofona is a private university in Lisbon. And here it's University of Theatre and Arts. In Hungarian, it's a different name. SZFE is the
Yeah,
shorter
इनके
version of
नाम
that.
बड़े मुश्किल मुश्किल होते हैं यार, सीधी सी
Yes,
बात है.
and in Brussels, we have Lucas School of Arts, and the university here was, I think, government tried to take over, and now it's a split in two. So the one where I go to is SZFE, and then there's another version, SZFE free, which is not working under like
The
government. It's
government,
more like a private institute, because the government, you know how the government is, and they try to sort of
yeah, they're a
control
bit
everything.
right wing, sort of.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's super cool, and especially you're doing something that's like pure art, right? Because I'm not a lot into media and everything, but I'm more into
Mm,
what's happening on Twitter and what's happening on those platforms. But I'm not into creating art, but you're actually into creating art,
mm,
right?
mm,
And I feel like that's very important because Europe itself, like a lot of people go to the US and go to UK for, okay, UK is an exception, but a lot of people go there just for the program and just for the prospects of job, right? But if you come to Europe, the amount of history here and what these
true.
guys have been through, right? Like I live in a building which is like 200 years old, right? There are literally cellars here where the Jewish families used to hide during the World War when Groningen was under the Nazis from 1940 to 1945, and the Canadians came here and liberated Holland from the Nazis and everything, and all of this is super cool, right? Because you're literally living in a place which were like, I don't know, like 2 3 million people died just for this level of freedom and liberation, right? Like these guys didn't get it like at the like हम लोगों को तो बस बैठे बैठा मिल गया था ना, but they were like नहीं, these guys literally fought for it, right?
Mm, mm.
And and the way they kind of relate to their colonies, right? Because Indonesia was a Dutch colony. I see a lot of
Yeah,
Indonesians there,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
get
yeah.
a lot of benefits. And the way you meet Algerians in Paris, because they speak French. They literally speak French, right? Because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
might speak better French than the French themselves, right? Because they were French
yeah.
as well. And once you navigate all these colonial relationships, right? Because in our part of the world we've mostly been occupied with our own things, right? Matlab Pakistan mein bada hona, and we had a lot of we always had these basic problems, right? कि मतलब ये art और philosophy के बारे में सोचने का तो time ही नहीं मिलता ना.
Mm, mm,
Like
mm,
you
mm.
don't have the luxury and time to listen to the Beatles or John Lennon or all these people, right? And once you come here, you're studying and you're working as well, but you're making ends meet. But then you roam around the streets and you listen to people, and you see some random person playing guitar in a metro station, or you see some random guy singing, or a homeless person with asking for help, right? And
Yeah.
that's what I can relate to, because yeah, that's quite interesting. So like, do you have any travel plans along with your studies? Like, are you like going have been to places, or I haven't been
Uh,
to the Portugal yet, I haven't been to Spain yet, I haven't been to East yet, I really want to. So yeah,
yeah.
I need to know more about those places. Like how is everything over there? Like it's
I went to Spain in December. And now so far I don't have any plans. And even though you can travel, like it's literally very close. Like you can get a train
yeah,
and
like I think
go to,
Slovakia is near you, Romania
yeah,
is
Slovakia, Austria, and Romania, and
Prague as well,
yeah,
right?
Prague, yeah. So all these places, and I think yeah, because the schedule in DN is really really packed. Like you rarely get the time to
I
yourself.
I
Like
totally I totally understand. I get it, because I really want to do this a lot. I want to interview a lot of people. I have a huge
yeah,
list of
yeah,
people, but with
yeah,
part-time job and with like courses and everything, it kind of gets hard. But yeah, this is something that I feel like more than the what I'm actually studying, I think traveling is something that literally changes your worldview, right? Like I remember when I was in Brussels and me and a couple of my friends were walking around the EU Parliament, and I was like, yeah, this is the EU Parliament, and you cannot even look at your own country's parliament. Like someone will stop you like from like 4 kilometers away, like just
true,
go
true,
in
true,
another direction.
true, true.
And yeah, you really feel and I feel like just we're almost at the 40-45 minute mark, but one of the things I really want to talk about is when you travel for the first time from one country to another
Yeah,
without showing your passport, because I know that feeling when I went to Berlin in a bus, and
yeah.
it's so liberating, right? No one looked at your face, no one checked your
Yeah.
passport, no one asked for your hotel bookings, no one's like, where's you gonna stay, where is your relative, why are you coming here? And you're just there, right? It's you're sitting in a bus, it's 3 in the night, you're listening to a song, and you're in another country. That's
True.
how is that feeling like when you went to Spain?
And yeah, so the thing is, because when we were traveling from Lisbon to Budapest, all of us were like half of the class we were traveling together, and some of us had EU digital certificate, COVID
Yeah,
certificate, and I
the
was
COVID
super. So,
certificate, yeah.
yeah, I really, because on the website it said like if you have an Indian or Egyptian COVID certificate,
Yeah.
you don't need to get tested, but they did not have Pakistan in that list. And I was like, bro, I
Aha.
have to take a test. And that was like around 80 euro. And I literally didn't want to like go for the
Spend
test. I
80
was like,
euros, right?
bro,
Yeah.
yeah. And again, the same thing, because I was super nervous. I was like, they might check your test. And they literally did not even look at our faces. They were like, yeah, okay, go. You know, like,
That's
ha,
yeah, that's
yeah, they no checking at all. And I was like,
that's
bro, I spent 80 euro. You have to look at my test result, bro. you,
I remember once I went somewhere and I forgot my passport, and I was super
yeah,
scared and no one
yeah,
checked my passport. I was in another country. I mean, this is yeah, that's the thing about Europe, right? And
yeah.
we're almost at the end, but for anyone who's watching, who's kind of following my journey or Ikram's journey, should definitely consider Europe, because I feel like a lot of Pakistani Indians, they because as a post-colonial country, we kind of obsessed over white English people with their forks and knives.
Yeah.
But okay, London is a great destination to go to, but also do keep in mind that you get a lot of benefits in Europe. You get a lot of subsidies, you get a lot of benefits, and you can travel a lot, especially for someone like who has a Pakistani passport. To be able to travel
True.
so
That's
freely
true.
is I think is a blessing, because we
Yeah.
don't we don't realize the fact that how hard it is to secure a single visa, especially for a Western country. It's super hard to do that, and you're here and you're doing all of this because at the end of the day you got that opportunity. But yeah, it was great, Ikran. We should also do this again sometime, whenever you
Hmm.
feel like. We can talk more about filmmaking and content and everything. today
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
today was more about the Erasmus journey, because I feel like a lot of people want to know about Erasmus and Erasmus opportunities, because a lot of people are hell bent on Fulbright and Chevening scholarships, but they actually don't know about Erasmus and
Yeah, and also the good thing
the,
is like Erasmus does not have that kind of condition where you have
the
to go
bond,
back.
right?
So
That's yeah. I,
yeah,
I just want
that's
to talk about that, because Fulbright, whether you need to go back, right?
you need to go back. Here you don't have that kind of condition. You literally just then it's like it's not from the program side. Then it's country to country what their
Yeah,
rules and regulation and laws are, but not from the program side. And you get stipend also. Like you get your like if you are applying for Erasmus, I mean, I do not spend from my own pocket, from my housing, my education, my fee, and from the like the film equipment that I'm getting from the university, the editing
that's expensive, right?
rooms
That's film
and
equipment is not
everything.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they give it to you. And I think this is like a filmmaker's dream come true where everything is being provided and you just have to make films.
you just
And
want to
this
make good content freely, right?
and then you are in Europe, so no one is even going to censor your views. Okay, bro, this you cannot show or this you cannot make film on. I
Yeah,
mean, I think yeah, you have this freedom to
yeah,
make films and just do it and literally
yeah,
travel, have fun, make films.
yeah.
And my actually, I think I did not talk about my program. It's called Doc Nomads, and people who are into filmmaking and they don't like documentary filmmaking, I just say just Google Doc Nomads and
Mm,
try to watch as many films from that program and European films in general, like contemporary European
yeah,
films.
this,
It's just
yeah,
it's another world. Like पाकिस्तान में कोई नहीं दिखाता आपको डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म, मतलब किसी को नहीं पता
exactly,
यार. सो
exactly.
हमें लगता है वो बस एक कोने में बैठ के इंटरव्यू देना है, दैट्स डॉक्यूमेंट्री
Our
फिल्म.
documentaries
बट
are like war centric, and जी partition में ये हुआ और जी फला बंदे मर गए फला. But like European art is even more advanced than the US, right? Because even in the
yeah,
US and places like Texas and places like Georgia, you cannot talk about abortion. You cannot talk about same-sex relationships and everything. But Europe, and especially like in my country where I am right now, Holland, I feel like that's
yeah,
like literally, if you see the most, I shouldn't be saying this, but the most liberal place on this planet, maybe, because here it's literally different. Like people don't give a damn about your dressing, about the way you
true.
look. whatever you are, you're an alien, you just came from another planet. They don't give a damn about you. You are on your own, and
Yes.
you can just be yourself, right? And yeah, you see a lot of characters here, a lot of personalities here, and that's why European art is something else, right? You have people like Van Gogh and all these artists. They
Yeah,
came from
yeah.
this part of the world, right? And yeah, that was it. And we're almost at the end, and I would just like to thank you so much for doing this.
No worries.
I would have wanted to do this longer, but I have a couple of other things to do today, so I couldn't. But I would
Okay.
love to talk, record another episode about your filmmaking in
Yeah.
general, and your how, like, that would be a very film centric. We can do a film
Hmm.
centric episode for
Hmm.
aspiring filmmakers, like where to get the
Hmm.
equipment from, how to record, how to edit, how to shoot, and
Hmm.
all of that, and resources for a filmmaker in Karachi, like how do
Yeah.
you do all of that. So yeah, before we sign off, any closing remarks for people watching this and for people wanting to be a doc nomad like you studying in Budapest?
Yeah. uh, So the thing is, like, because when I was applying, I literally had zero hopes. I was like, I'm not getting into this program because it's very competitive, and I had seen the work of other students. And but just don't think about this, just apply. I know a lot of people, they have the potential, but just because they have to fill an application,
They
and they
become
have
lazy, right?
they
They're like,
that
kaun bhare, our full name,
kaun bhare.
name, last name. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so just थोड़ी सी हिम्मत करनी है and just apply for the program. And I think, yeah, once it's done, the rest is very easy. You go with the
yeah,
flow, and you have a lot of people supporting you with the application. You are on your own, you have to work on your application on your own. So
that's yeah,
yeah, and
that's
I think, yeah, just gather that courage and just apply away, and that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much again, Ikran. And before I
No
sign
worries.
off, I just want to
Mm.
let everyone know that Sharyar's voice is also now available in Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. You can like my content, you can subscribe and everything. And yeah, have a great day. I'm just gonna end this right now. And thank you again. Thank you so much.
No worries.